Hey everybody, today I'm having a conversation with Ben Shaw. He tattoos out of Archetype Tattoo in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and recently he's been making a really big push on social media to make people aware about what the American government is doing and how they plan to regulate our tattoo products. Now these regulations aren't going to just affect tattoo artists, they're also going to affect tattoo collectors. So I hope that you benefit from this conversation. All right, Ben, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. A lot of your content centers around uniting the tattoo industry and basically preventing government overreach. This is something that I definitely want to help get the message out, because this is something that affects all of us as artists, and also even if you're a tattoo client, this affects you as well, even if you don't actually tattoo people. So let's start out with talking about MOCHA, what it is, how it's going to affect us, and yeah, so you have the floor.
Okay. Well, again, yeah, thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm not, and I just want to initially start off, I'm a tattoo artist. I've been tattooing for 23 years, a tattoo shop owner, and have been involved with state regulation, not in the sense of working with the government, but working to protect the industry against overreach, like you mentioned,
Right.
or overregulation. And that's why I'm even aware of MOCRA, right? Because I know how to navigate through the legislative process and become aware of these things. And it's through working with the Alliance of Professional Tattooists that I was initially alerted, and then was able to kind of pay attention to what's going on. The Modernization of Cosmetic Regulation Act, or MOCRA, is basically a new federal law that is allowing or mandating the government, the FDA specifically, to regulate all of cosmetic products. So that's like Maybelline, Mary Kay, or everything, right? It's not just tattooing,
Right.
but the FDA deems tattooing products as cosmetics, because it changes our body for the purpose of beautification. So
Right.
that's a law, a federal law that's been signed to happen, right? This isn't an idea. This is a law that's happened. It's going to affect our industry by regulating our products. That's the most simple thing that's going to go on. Now that doesn't seem like a particularly scary or bad thing, except for because of tattooing being such a closed industry for so long, so much of it was regulated by ourselves that they don't have a lot of information on how to regulate us properly.
Right.
And we know that it's a problem because of what happened over in Europe.
Right.
So in Europe, several years ago, their government stepped in and wanted us to start regulating their tattoo inks specifically.
Right.
But because they didn't know how, they looked at the European Chemical Agency and essentially got a bunch of regulations and rules that didn't make sense for regulating tattoo inks.
Yeah.
I can dig into the science of it, but essentially it's made a subpar product. It's made a type of ink that the tattoo artists don't want to use there. And many of them aren't using it, right? But they're being mandated to use it. And so what they're doing is they're pretending to use the ink they have to, and still using the inks that we use.
Yeah.
But the inks they're using that ours are they're labeled like drawing ink, right?
Right.
But the crazy thing is this, man, in Europe, if you're caught doing that, you've got a potential 3 years in jail
That's
and a
crazy.
50,000 euro fine. Yeah. Now I'm not saying they're like kicking down doors and like
Right. Right.
arresting tattoo artists all kinds,
Yeah.
but I mean, that I've experienced over the past decade of dealing with regulations, if that exists as a punishment, that
Yeah.
could potentially be enforced to make an example out of somebody.
So have
And right
you?
now,
Oh, go ahead. So have you
I was
talked
saying,
to artists over there and like how those inks are performing opposed to the ones that we're used to now?
yeah,
And it's a subpar product
yeah.
in general.
Well, again, if anyone wants to know the science, I'll break it down. But it's
Yeah.
basically watered down ink, right?
Okay.
Watered down so much to where it doesn't go in the skin well, it doesn't last well, and because they've removed so many ingredients because of, again, incorrect regulation or incorrect science behind it.
Yeah.
They've supplemented with other ingredients that are deemed safer, but actually we don't have any idea what it does in the body. So I have
Okay.
4 interviews lined up with artists from the European Union, Germany, and other parts of Europe that are sharing their concerns because they don't use
Okay.
it, you know,
Yeah.
and the stuff, you know, and the stuff that they are using, they don't know what's going to be the long-term results. And in fact, I'm still you can find this in what's called a RAPEX report, but there
Okay.
has been a massive recall on two major brands. I don't want to call them out right now.
Yeah.
Again, I'll tell you specifically if you want, but two major brands in Germany that are being recalled that are REACH compliant because they're having
And
weird
these are the new
reactions to it.
ones. These are
These are
the
the
new
new
eights.
ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're using ingredients we're not used to, right?
That's crazy.
You know, all the stuff that we've been using for, you know,
Forever.
decades essentially,
Yeah.
and even the newer, you know, even the new products, like we're not having some sort of massive health crisis. There's
No.
no big huge issue with this stuff we're using, but because of a lack of information, they
Yeah.
sought out the information from outside entities, and
Okay.
so these artists don't want to use these products, but they're being mandated to. And
Huh.
and why that, you know, some people are like, ah, that's Europe. You know, a
Right.
lot of people don't even know, but it's like, oh, that's what they're dealing with. We don't have to worry about that here. But that's the problem with MOCHA is
Yeah.
in the bill itself. It states that the FDA and the Secretary of Human Health Services has the ability to reference European standards,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have anything in place, they said, well, we can look over to here and we could potentially use them,
So they can kind
right?
of just be like, well, we don't know what we're talking about, so it seems like they might, so we'll just adopt their rules.
Well, so one thing I've learned about government, man, they're overworked, underpaid,
Yeah.
understaffed, and if they can find a shortcut, they'll take it, right? You know,
Right.
because most don't love their work. So if they're like, oh, this they already have it in place, yeah, we'll use that, right?
I see. Yeah.
And so that's a real concern. I will say this: the FDA has been going to Europe.
Okay.
There was this thing called the World Conference of Tattoo and Pigment Research that happened just this past March or April, and
Yeah.
that's where a lot of the Europeans come together and talk about all this stuff. And the FDA was present because they got to deal with MOCHA and they're trying to do their research a bit, and
Yeah.
that's where they learned about this recall in Germany. So they're like, oh, okay,
Also, it
your
might have
standard.
scared them away a little bit.
So now they're alerted, right? They're like,
Okay.
okay, like we put it in the bill, but we went over there and like, oh man, that's not a great idea either.
Okay.
So now they're like, okay, well, I heard there's this organization. We've known about this organization called the Alliance of Professional Tattooists. It's been around for 30 years. Let's
Yeah.
talk to them. And
Okay.
so that's essentially where we're at now. Is this bill has been passed? It's a law now, right? It's not just an idea. It's a federal law that's going to mandate the FDA to start stepping in and regulating our products. But they're at this impasse where they don't know exactly how to do it just yet. But because they see how outside industries, like the European Chemical Agency, has done it improperly,
Right.
they're now looking at our industry and saying, "Okay, y'all, we'll cooperate with you now."
So this could end up being a decent thing as long as, man, I know that you talked to Electrum and Eternal recently, correct? You went
Mhm.
out to their facilities as well.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I gotta get do the
Do you have
tour.
the video out yet?
Not yet. It's man, it's in editing, but
Yeah, I get it.
trust me, it'll
Well,
be
I'm
out.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to see that one either way. I was looking for
Hmm.
it on your channel. But
Yeah.
have you talked to them? Say our government decides, okay, I'm frustrated with dealing with the tattoo industry. Um, we're not going to deal with them. We're just going to do whatever Europe is doing, which is clearly not working. But say they adopt that. Do you know what these brands might possibly do? Would they move out of the country? Would they go along with these standards that are new that clearly are subpar? Like, what have you talked to them about that at all?
Well, I mean, if it's the federal law, I mean, they have to comply, and they themselves have had to
Yeah.
create. I mean, especially like Eternal. That's a
Yeah.
major tattoo
Right.
manufacturing company. I
Yeah.
mean, they distribute to the world, right? And so they do have some products that they've sent over to Europe, right? And they do have some of those REACH compliant pigments that they've tested out. But
Okay.
again, they're still not they're not their best seller, right?
I
They're the
gotcha.
ones that people are. It was in an article where artists are buying them and putting them out for display. This is
Yeah.
what I use. You know what
Well,
I
I
mean?
feel
But
like
the way I'm
that.
going to work.
Yeah, right. I feel like
Yeah.
that is probably what the majority of artists would end up doing. Because I mean, how are you going to really even prove that? You're going to come in and, test
I'll,
individual droplets kind of thing. But
wait, check it out, man. I had a conversation with a German artist who said that they have done that, right?
yeah,
And he wouldn't come and record it. He wouldn't like, he told
right.
me on Zoom, but then he wouldn't. I was like, well, let me
Well,
record
no, you
this
don't
for
want
you.
to. You definitely don't want to like admit that on recording for
Yeah.
sure.
But he was saying that now this is again, this is not cost effective, and this probably
No.
won't be a common practice. But he was talking about how the inspectors knew about tattoo artists. I mean, it's like publicly noticed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like prohibition, right?
Yeah.
They know, like, hey, I know you're not using this, so they were like claiming they were going to come take samples out of your ink cap. You know,
Oh, wow.
but at that point, like, how do you know it's not contaminated, and how, like, how
Right.
could they afford to do that? But
Yeah.
like I'm saying, like, it's at that point where it's like it's a little bit of the Wild West, right?
Hmm.
A little bit of like, well, we're going to figure out how to get you somehow,
Right.
um but you're right. I mean, it would make sense from trying to do that, but it's something they threatened,
Huh.
uh
That would be
but yeah.
wild having somebody coming in and being like, come here, let me take a little drop
Yeah,
of, yeah.
yeah.
So
uh,
what is something, I mean, obviously it does seem like things are leaning in our favor now if they're talking about speaking with people in our industry, which that's great news. Maybe, or are you kind of
Well,
skeptical?
well, well. Again, 10 years of working around government.
Yeah,
What they say, what they do, sometimes are two different things, right?
right.
The one thing that they have is pressure put upon them, right? The FDA is like, hey, you got to do this, and you got to do it in this amount of time,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's really on us at this point to be proactive and provide this data, this research for them to
Okay.
utilize. So if we just go like, oh, cool, we're in a good place, we don't got to worry about it, and just go back to living our lives, which the European tattoo artists did,
Yeah.
it's just going to be upon us before we know it. It's like, oh, what? What happened? Now we're what?
Now we got
We're
to change things.
mandated, you know?
Hmm.
So it's in a positive direction in the sense that we know about this. We've
Right.
been tapped, and we're having some communications with, and we are putting things into place. So, we have been proactive. And again, I want to mention, the Alliance Professional Tattooists, regardless of how the industry has perceived this 30-year organization, which, for the most part has been pretty quiet the past 2 decades because they're
Yeah.
busy tattooing, right?
Right.
uh,
Right.
and didn't keep up with the technology, but we've been revitalizing them this past since
Okay.
the beginning of the year. I mean, we've grown over 247 new members, right?
Wow.
And I'm now the chairman of what's called the APT Pigment Committee.
Okay.
And this is a group of APT members, but we also have SPCP, Society of Permanent Cosmetic Practitioners. We have an ex-FDA agent. We have some actual medical practitioners,
Okay.
and there's some cross-pollinating tattoo artists, biochemists, as well as other PhDs in other peripheral parallel industries that are coming together. We're meeting on a monthly basis, and
Okay.
we're working on creating that data for them. And we're starting off with what's called a historical or retrospective observational study,
Yeah.
which essentially is like doing a historical data study survey. So we're going to like send out a survey to everyone, asking them, this had tattoos, how long have you had your tattoos,
Right.
have you had any sort of health contraindications, like, have you had any issues, and basically compile all the data we need to then share with the FDA, showing that, if you take this group, these thousands of tattooed people and these thousands of non-tattooed people, and you compare them, you're not, it's our hypothesis, what we have to prove, that there's not a big difference,
Right.
right? It's not like the tattooed people are, their arms are falling off all the time, or they have, increased levels of cancer or brain tumors or anything like
Right.
that. It's going to be probably pretty similar to the same.
Yeah.
And the idea is this committee is going to work specifically to create this and provide this to the FDA. And again, giving them the information they need to start creating rules that make sense for us. Right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so it's positive in the fact that it's negative over there. They've noticed it, and then they're looking at us, and we're doing something about it.
Okay.
That's the positive thing.
So hopefully, say we have good regulation, because I think it would be good for us to have some type of set, like, okay, this is okay, this is not. I think that
Exactly.
is,
Yeah.
because I mean, you can buy all types of stuff, and state to state also varies. So I think there should be a benchmark of like, this is how clean we should be. I think there should be standards. So I think in a way this is good, and hopefully we can affect Europe as well, because that would be just amazing to have a worldwide standard of this is how things are done. But for the normal person, somebody that just gets tattooed, or somebody that's not very involved at all in government, which most of us aren't, that are just tattoo artists, what can we do in order to help this cause? Are we able to, write legislators, or like what would be the path that people can take to help safeguard our industry?
No, yeah, I mean, I just want to agree with you. Yes, I believe in minimal standards. We have to have some benchmarks, and I believe we are heading in that direction. Just like you're a clean professional tattoo artist, and you've had personal standards, I believe we will establish them across our industry and globally. Right now, it's just about working together to learn how to establish them, right?
Right.
And so I mean, tattooers are busy, right? If you're just speaking of the tattoo artist, if you're busy, you ain't got time to, contact your legislators, or start sending off angry emails. We've created a I guess a group called the Body Art Regulation Support System. And this is on the Discord platform, which is it's a pretty easy, it's a downloadable platform. Then you can then join this group. And in this group, it's essentially just a messaging group with tons of information, but broken up into what's called channels or little servers. So it helps kind of database them for you.
Okay.
And it's got information about the MOCHA. It's got information about the APT. It's got information about what's going on in Europe. It's got information about what's going on with science. And then it has, like you mentioned, states are so different. It's got individual channels for the individual states. And we're starting to categorize the states' regulations to help people when they're navigating regulations throughout the country, whether you're going on a guest spot, going to a convention, or you're just struggling in your own state. There's people in your area that are champions for this stuff, that, like myself, I've gone out of on my own free time to learn these things and to help others with it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's an easy low-hanging fruit, right? You could be tattooing all day, join this group, get alerted if there's a petition coming out, right? Or there's something new in the science, right? When we have this historical data survey ready and we start launching it, there it is. You can easily
it's all
copy
right
link,
there.
share it with your friends, throw it on your social medias, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, we're putting out content about about what's going on with regulations, what's going on with how to improve your career by understanding how to be a better participating member in the industry, right? It's just a great resource.
Right.
If you want to take it a step farther as a tattoo artist, become an APT member, right? That this is the tattoo industry's trade organization. It's been around for over 30 years. And again, I know that the industry as a whole may have mixed opinions about it, because really they haven't done a lot in the last 20 years. And I know for a fact they've been busy tattooing, and they have been working on the background, moonlighting, still doing what they can. But as a whole, they've kind of disappeared. But we're bringing it back. But again, no matter what we feel about it, the government sees it as a credible constituent base, and they will look to it. So that is so important for us to bolster and support it, because that's how politics work, bro. It's numbers, right? It's constituents, it's voters, right?
So then I guess you would call that like almost like a lobbyist group, kind of.
So in our bylaws, we don't lobby, we don't make laws. Like we're a 501c6, volunteer only. No, like our whole mission is to protect tattooing.
Okay.
And to represent the practitioners. Now, if we have enough membership and the funds, then I mean, we do have Sean Brown. He is a tattoo artist, and he also works at Eternal, but he has lobbied for the tattoo industry before. So it is a group that we can use to protect tattooing. It's like a shield, right?
Yeah.
And also we educate through it. We teach health and safety through it. I mean, we have, we're bringing back, of course, now the pandemic's over, our annual conferences. We can come together and take seminars and learn education and network and all that good stuff.
Oh, so you have like little mini like seminars to where you can travel to and go to. Cool.
Yeah. We had one just
Awesome.
back in Orlando back in May. But we're planning the 2024
Nice.
as we speak right now. Yeah.
Very
And so
cool.
that's a great way for people as tattoo artists and not just tattoo artists, because we also have associate a membership. So even if
Okay.
you have those great clients that love tattooing and want
Yeah,
to help
they can join.
they can join as well. And it's
Okay.
this is a way for them to participate, engage, and again feel like they're a part and truly be a part, right,
Right.
of something they love, the tattoo industry. So again,
Yeah.
these are real easy ways to help with the movement,
Right.
help us protect tattooing by giving the government the proper information, so they make regulations that make sense.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be outside with a picket,
So I shouldn't
protesting
make a
and shit.
picket sign. Okay.
I mean, you can make it
I'll
if you
throw my
want
sign
to.
away. I was making one
Yeah.
before this, so
Okay. Well, I want to see it, but no.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
But
show
yeah,
you
no,
later.
those are super easy ways to participate and help.
Okay.
And then, like I said, when that survey's out, share it. I mean,
Share.
it's. I mean, we with the power of technology now, I mean, we can do so much so easy. I mean, it is that simple, and really, that little bit can make a huge impact on our
Awesome.
future. So.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you talking to us. I'm going to make sure to get all your links. I'll share them for all the different resources that you just mentioned, and then also your socials, because you have a whole lot of really good information. You go in depth into all this kind of stuff, and also you've been sharing a whole lot of really cool, like, inspirational stuff as well that I've been appreciating too.
Awesome.
So everybody go check out Ben's channels. He's definitely been a really good leader in the social media space for the tattoo industry. So I appreciate you. Stay on the line with me, but I'm going to end the recording now. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.